What we are doing now is not movement development, right? Yeah, so we don't need to focus on one point. The shoulder is only the trigger. The head, if I move it like this, it's only the trigger. But that, when I had this, that was the reaction based on this. And then I capitalize on the reaction, not the trigger.
Okay, I'm trying to like, how am I implementing that in my body? It's like,
Yeah. So that's a good question because this is what we're gonna keep on working now. Because we still have 30 minutes where we're gonna keep on, working on the first half of the training. And I know this subject, it can be cultivating at any level, but it would mainly be in the category of, let's say, advanced, right? To push it really and try to really understand it in your body. So therefore, that's why I really love to exchange with you and try to understand, your thought process when you are doing it, so that I can also see and understand where are the blockages, and then we can work on them. So now we've been doing this where it's not fully natural because I gave you the triggers, right? But now we're gonna get rid of the triggers. You're gonna be the ones identifying your own triggers in the moment when you are freestyling, and you're gonna also be the one capitalizing on those reactions. Does that make sense? So now the trigger can be anything, right? It can be now I'm dancing, and then all of a sudden I do this. How do I know it's a trigger or not? How do I know if it's a trigger or not? That I cannot know it for you. You decide in the moment if it's something that's worth my time to capitalize on it or not, right? But just don't say, okay, I'm looking, like when I'm dancing right now, I'm looking for the best idea to be the trigger, right? So literally anything can be the trigger. You just make the decision, right? So once we understand that, is when I'm freestyling, can I make it clear what am I developing, at that moment? So what reaction am I capitalizing on, okay? So I'm gonna play the music and I'm gonna be freestyling, but this time without necessarily thinking too much about the exercise. Like I'm gonna be freestyling for normally, but I'm still gonna be utilizing the approach of trigger and reaction, okay? And let's see if you can try and observe and see if you can identify the things that I decide to pay more time on them, and the things that I just, move fast with them, okay? So, so were you able to identify every time that I decided I would spend more time on that reaction?
Yes.
Yeah, every time it was like really clear. So yeah.
There were
So that-
keys, like maybe on the floor, went up, then I feel like that was a way to categorize triggers. You know?
Yes.
See, like hands, direction, like knees and stuff. Yeah, powerful.
Cool. Cool. So that's what you can all do, right? Because the only thing is to understand the structure, right? The execution, you can always get better at it, right? And we can always get better at it, right? So that's the fun part, because we know that, okay, I can keep on improving the execution, but the structure, I can apply it from the get-go, no matter my level, right? Because if I manage to be very clear when I decide to capitalize on a reaction, yeah, then I will always have a really good structure of my round, and at the same time, utilizing my entire body with control. Does that make sense? Yeah? So that's what we're going to try to do here. So I'm going to play the music. First, you're going to be on your own. And this time, I'm going to want you to also dance longer, right? So I'm going to play the music, and there is a reason why I did the entire song. It's just to kind of make the exercise a bit more difficult, because doing it 1 minute, yeah, it's accessible. Doing it the entire round and still keep your creativity going is another thing, right? So I'm going to play the music, and I want you to be with yourself. Just identify triggers. Okay, how do I react from it? And then I develop it if I want it or not. But the moment I decide I want this one and I want to develop it, spend some time with it before you transition to the next one. And the next one will come to you naturally. Make sense? Let's go for it. Yes, be with yourself. Keep going. For me, often when I'm freestyling, I don't like to think, what is my transitions?
Okay.
You know? Because when I think about the word transition, I'm literally thinking transition.
Exactly.
Because especially because I also do like a video editing, and you know, when I do the cut, and I know like sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm going to create a transition in between, you know, to go to the next footage. And when I'm dancing, I don't like to think this way, right? So I ask myself, okay, how can I actually literally never think about transition? So I think build up, right? So it's almost like, you know, my freestyle, I'm putting one block, another one, another one, another one, another one, another one, and then at the end, you've got the full, you know, the full piece, right? So therefore, the trigger, for some people, for someone else, you could call it, you know, transition. It's just I don't like using necessarily the word transition, because I'm like, okay, if I do this, then is it a transition or a trigger? No, I don't really care. It's just, you know, the next idea that comes to me right now, and I want to capitalize on it.
It's the way
That's
you
it.
feel more useful for you.
Exactly.
If you say trigger, or if you say transition or concept.
Exactly, yeah, that's the thing.
It's
So
up
the
to you.
reason why I call it trigger is because for some of you who knows me, and you know that I try to be as spontaneous as possible when I'm freestyling. So therefore, I do not predict. Some people, they're very good at knowing pretty much half of what they're going to be doing during their freestyle. But this approach doesn't work for me, right? I'm not saying it's wrong, but it just doesn't work for me. Some people will be like, okay, I'm dancing right now, but the moment I do this, I know exactly what combo I'm going to do with this, right? Because it doesn't work for me, I only see this as a new idea. So that's a new trigger to develop something else. Does that make sense?
It's a way to watch the same thing, but in a personal way.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I can only teach, you know, what I experience, right? So that's a really good question as well. Thanks. And if you have other questions, don't hesitate.